This meditation is a body scan meditation in which we progressively bring our attention or take our attention through the body. This enables us to center ourselves, to become grounded in the moment, and to relax. However, the aim of the exercise is not to force relaxation, as this will just create more tension. So we go with whatever comes up, with whatever arises. So we don't make a judgment, we just allow things to arise in the here and now. And if the mind wanders while we're going through this body scan, that's absolutely fine. Just bring it back to whatever part of the body that we're focusing on at the time. But do this in a gentle, in a kind way. So again, we don't create tension. So we'll begin by bringing our attention to our posture. So we can either be lying down or we can be sitting. So we want to be comfortable, but not too comfortable, so that we start to drift off or that we feel sleepy. And equally, we don't want to be too tense or upright. So we need to find a balance. And we close our eyes, taking attention inwards, beginning to focus on the breath at the tips of the nostrils. So not forcing the breath, but paying attention to the breath. So the in-breath and the out-breath. So that we become aware of the rhythm of the breath, the movement of the body as we breathe in and as we breathe out. Now we take attention to the crown or the top of the skull. We can just notice what it's like to take attention there, to focus on the skull as it sits in the surrounding air, resting on the shoulders. And now we slowly sweep downwards and sideways, down the skull to the forehead. And we can notice whether the forehead feels creased or whether it feels soft. So this is somewhere where we tend to hold tension. And this is one place in the body where we can actually loosen up quite easily, to soften up. So the forehead, you can just gently loosen it. And now we can move down over the eyebrows and the temples to the eyes. So the eyes are protected or covered with layers of skin, which we call the eyelids. So we have the top eyelid and the bottom eyelid. And behind the eyelids we have the eyeballs. and the eyeballs moving around in fluid that keep them moist, stop them drying out. We can just have a sense of that, and the size of the eyeballs. The back of the eyes are attached to the optical nerve, which is attached to the brain. Now we can bring attention down over the cheeks, so the soft flesh of the cheeks, and the cheekbones underneath. And then we have the lips, we have the top lip and the bottom lip. So we can feel the dryness of the lips on the outside and the moisture on the inside. And then behind the lips we have the teeth, a top set and a bottom set. And if we feel tense, then we tend to clamp our teeth together. So again, this is somewhere where we can loosen up. We can just move those teeth slightly apart. And then inside the teeth we have the tongue, which we can just gently lay in the bottom of the mouth. And at the back of the mouth we have the throat, where we take in food and liquid, and where we breathe. And then moving back forwards we have the insides of the cheeks, again moisture, kept moist by the saliva. And now we take attention outwards, so we move back over the bottom lip and down to the point of the chin, and gently sweep up the jawline to the ears. So the ears are made of gristle and cartilage, and they're covered in a layer of skin. So that's the outer part of the ears, and maybe we can feel the air moving over the ears. So we have the tops of the ears moving down to the earlobes, which are soft and fleshy. And then we can focus on the inside of the ears, so we can just focus on whatever sounds we hear at the moment. We're not trying to change anything, we're bringing attention to the sounds that we hear, making an active intention of listening, just listening to whatever's happening right now. And we move out of the ears, and we'll move down the front of the body. So we'll sweep down the front of the throat, the neck, down to the base of the throat and the collarbones. And we're going to move outwards to the shoulders. So if you can, I want you to visualize the shoulder joints. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sweep down through the insides of the arms to the tips of the fingers, and we're going to sweep back up the outside. So we'll start with the shoulder joints, and we're going to move down through the insides of the arms. So just gently, slowly sweeping down, just visualizing the bones that make up the upper arms, ligaments, the tendons, the muscles, and the blood vessels. Moving down into the elbow joints, complex joints, and then down into the forearms. So again, the bones that make up the forearms and the muscles, the ligaments and the tendons, and the blood vessels. And now moving down into the wrists and into the hands. And moving through the hands out into the fingers and thumbs. Sweeping through to the tips of the fingers and the tips of the thumbs. Pause in there, just noticing whether you can feel a slight vibration there. You might be able to feel the blood flowing round. See if you can notice the space between the fingers and the thumbs. So now we're going to sweep up the outside. So we'll take our attention over the surface of the fingers, so the top and underneath. And then we have the palms of the hands, the backs of the hands, back into the wrists. Then moving over the wrists, top and bottom, the forearms, sweeping upwards, the elbows, moving back up to the upper arms, and back to the shoulders. And resting there, and focusing on the arms, the weight of the arms, hanging there. So now we're going to take our attention down the front of the body. So we'll move our attention back to the base of the throat. We'll just gently sweep down, being aware of the rib cage that expands and contracts as we breathe in and breathe out. So a combination of cartilage and bone and muscle. So that's moving, expanding and contracting as we breathe out. And the rib cage protects the vital organs at the front, the lungs and the heart. And we can take attention to the centre of the chest, to the sternum, which is at the bottom of the rib cage in the middle. We can just move our attention downwards. And then we have the upper abdomen and the lower abdomen. And so the abdomen is somewhere where we tend to hold a lot of tension. If that's the case, just notice where you're holding tension. And then we're going to move our awareness down further into the groin area. Taking awareness into the hip joints. So I want you to visualize the hip joints. So we'll start at the hips and we'll gradually move down into the large bones that make up the tops of the legs and all the muscles, ligaments and tendons supporting those bones, holding them in place. And we're slowly sweeping down through the insides of the legs, down into the knees. We have the knee joints, and we're going to move down through the lower legs, the calves, the shin bones, down into the ankles. Again, another set of complex joints, And behind the ankle we have the Achilles tendon, which runs from the back of the ankle down underneath the foot. Take our attention down into the foot and all the tiny bones that make up the feet. And we can visualize taking our attention down through the insides of the feet, all the bones, the muscles, tendons, down to the ends of the feet and the toes, taking attention to the ends of the toes, seeing whether we can notice the spaces between the toes and the sense of the toes being encased in socks or tights, shoes, or whether the toes are exposed to the air and what that feels like, and whether the toes feel warm or cold. So we're not trying to change this, we're just bringing awareness to how we feel right now. Now we're going to bring attention back up the toes and the feet. So gradually sweeping up over the outsides of the toes and the feet. So above and below, back to the ankles. Moving up the calves, the shins, to the knees, and then moving up through the thighs, slowly moving upwards on the outside, back to the hips. So we can just have a sense of sitting, of the sit bones supporting the weight of the upper body. We can have a sense of our legs on the chair, our feet on the floor, or if we're lying down we can sense our legs and our feet resting on a mattress or on a mat. And now we can bring attention to the coccyx. So this is the tailbone at the base of the spine, and we're just moving up through each of the vertebrae. So the lumbar region, the lower lumbar region, all the large muscles supporting the spine, and then in the middle of the spine we have the spinal column, taking and sending messages to and from the brain, and gradually sweep upwards through the central part of the spine, moving upwards, till we're level with the shoulder blades, and moving through the upper spinal region to the shoulders. And again, the shoulders tends to be an area where we hold tension. So if we can just gently drop the shoulders. And then we're going to sweep upwards to the top of the spine, the knobbly bone at the top of the spine, and then the base of the skull, so the back of the neck, moving up the skull, the sides, the back to the crown, back to where we started this journey, focusing on the whole of the body, dwelling there in awareness, focusing on the whole of the body, this living, breathing organism that sustains life. So we can bring our attention from the top of the head down to the tips of the fingers and the tips of the toes, and slowly coming back to the room on the sound of the bell.